Hello everyone, my name is Danielle and welcome to a brand new episode of Diversity of Urban Art. Today we have the award-winning painter, Mr. Ernest Lee.
Well, hello. It's good to be here, Danielle. I'd like to say that I'm Florida folk artist Ernest M. Lee. I'm known for my country houses and grandpa scenes. And of course, we've got a grandpa scene that started out, so go ahead, tell me.
So can you tell us a little about this painting? It's amazing, it's beautiful.
Well, this is one that will be at the Old Florida Celebration of the Arts. It's a Cedar Key Art Festival, and I'm the featured artist there. And so we have Grandpa and me at Cedar Key, and he's telling me about the good old days and telling me about the honeymoon suite.
And where exactly is Cedar Key?
Well, Cedar Key, if you were coming through Orlando, you go into Gainesville, get on State Road 24. Now, when you head out State Road 24 West, Cedar Key is about 50 miles outside of Gainesville. So it's about, I'd say about maybe 16 miles from where Rosewood was.
Rosewood? As in like the Rosewood Massacre that happened a few years?
Yes, as seen on Oprah and seen in two different movies, Rosewood, yes.
So this painting, it's wonderful. Like I can see even with the handkerchief, and you could see the texture and the trees. Like what made you want to do that?
Well, I've been doing Grandpa and me for a little while, and what I wanted to do, I wanted to show Grandpa spending time with his grandson. I wanted to show good memories. I wanted you in this painting to feel the sun on your face, feel the heat, get a real good Florida vibe.
This is nice. And like, what was does the red handkerchief like symbolize anything, or is it just?
Well, it's just something, because a lot of people in certain cultures will have the red handkerchief or the blue handkerchief, but you see a lot of the sisters with the red handkerchief, or a lot of the old men. When I was growing up, you go in, that handkerchief would be a blue or red, they pick one out and wipe sweat, you wipe a little sweat off the brow when you're doing a little hard work. So Grandpa down here was moving some watermelons around.
So is painting the only thing that you do, or do you do something else in your pastime?
Well, I do the paintings and I do poetry. So I have written some poetry to go along with the paintings. And I teach at a private school in Gainesville called Karen and Sharon.
So what is it like teaching art? I
enjoy it. When you go in, and I got kids now that are 5 to 11, and when I see, I see them doing something well, and I'll get there and it's like, hey, Mr. Lee, hey, Dr. Lee, they'll come over talking to me, and they'll say, oh, I did this drawing at the house, I want to show it to you. Can I show it to you? I said, yeah, I want to see it. And then it's amazing when they do something really, really good. I've had a showing in Gainesville at the Doris. It was a Florida wildlife, and it was manatees and, and the birds and the gators and all that sort of thing. And so the kids had an opportunity to draw and paint those things, and they had their own display at a professional show. And the other thing that they were able to do was go to the zoo and observe these animals and draw them there as well.
Seems nice.
Yeah.
So what is your main source of inspiration for your artwork?
I would say, my grandmother was the person that encouraged me. When I wanted to just go in the military and travel, she said, no, I think you should go and try art school. And before she passed away, I was doing lighting, electrical work, and she said, well, I think that you should, I think that God wants you to do these paintings. She said, they are really good, and I don't know if you know how good they are. And I didn't.
So how long have you been painting?
I've been painting since I was 13. So when I was 13, 14, I was painting little country houses. And then I did a little girl, so I painted a person when I was 15 years old.
I wish I could paint like this. I'm still drawing lines and squiggles and.
Well, you're gonna have to take one of my classes, and then you can paint like this. I'll have you doing this in a couple of hours.
All right. So like,
Come on, what like what? Don't be, don't go ahead and ask me. What is it? Anything.
So you said you went to art school?
I went for a couple of years, but the grant that I had was discontinued, so I didn't have the funds. It was a private school, it was very expensive, and I didn't actually get a chance to do painting with the professor. I just did art one-on-one. You know, they talk to you about screen printing, reading books, this, that, and the other. You learn about artists like, and the Great Migration is when there was a bunch of people from the South that went into New York, which is why you got so many brothers and sisters in New York was through the Great Migration. Now there was an artist that painted a series, and his name was Jacob Lawrence. And Jacob Lawrence painted that, and that also was fetched the highest price for an art sale of a living artist. And a lot of people don't know that either. But when I started selling in St. Augustine, I had a gentleman that was from New York, and he wanted me to travel with him. He wanted to take me into art galleries in New York. He thought that I was ready then. But Greg Travis, known as Suvo, the artist, thought highly of my work, and even at one point bought one of my original paintings.
So is there anything in your life that you believe shaped you to become the person that you are today?
Well, I'd have to go back to Grandma again. Grandma raised me. She taught me a set of principles, and I stayed with them. And I was very, very close to her. And so I took her advice on a lot of things. And I miss my grandmother a lot, but that's why I continue on. And I have people that say, well, you know, your grandmother knows how famous and popular you've become in art. So I've done well. I've won a lot of awards. I've won down here in Orlando back to back, and I've also been a featured artist here. You know about any of those shows that I've been in?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, they're one of the bigger art shows here in Orlando is the Longwood Art Show. And I won back-to-back in Longwood, and also there's I do folk festivals and heritage type things. So I did the Pine Castle Pioneer Days here, and I was a featured artist there. I did it again this year, and I did quite well in sales. And I've won a Heritage Award. You know about the Heritage Award that I won?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, the Stetson Kennedy Foundation. I received an award from the Stetson Kennedy Foundation. He's a famous writer. And Stetson Kennedy did 1 year of college. And he was a freshman student of Marjorie Kennan Rollins. So I do the Marjorie Kennan Rollins shows. She wrote the Yearling. She received the Pulitzer Prize win, I think. So I'm currently doing a painting. When she found out she won, she was living in Cross Creek, Florida, and she didn't have a telephone. And so there was a store that was 5 miles away, and they called the store, and the lady told her, hey, you gotta come up and call New York.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lee, for having us. Well, that's all the time we have today on Diversity of Urban Art, so we'll see you again for another episode.
Sure you will, Danny. Thank you.
No problem.